Dixon heads to the pocket. Layup, Johnson, good!
And welcome, everybody. It's another episode of Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers. Lots to talk about. The Super Bowl, of course, lots of things going on in the city of New Orleans. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk basketball, LSU, Southern, and we'll talk a few other things that are going on in the sports world. All of that coming up right here, Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers. Seen 5 times a week on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., Thursdays at 11 and 7 p.m., Friday at 9 p.m., and Saturday at 8:30 p.m., and seen in almost 2 million households around the Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans market. Of course, 3 of the top 4 markets in Louisiana. And you can see us also on the Pelicans app. Of course, you can get that on your phone, download that on your phone, and the YouTube channel as well. We've got great sponsors like TJ Ribs and attorney Tony Clayton. Well, New Orleans is set to host its 11th Super Bowl, tying Miami for the most Super Bowls ever. We're just a few days away from that. Now, New Orleans is getting big time ready. There's no question about that. 540 projects in New Orleans that were done, and some will be done soon to have a big impact on the city of New Orleans for years to come. Street repairs in the French Quarter, around the Dome, the Union Passenger Terminal, Superdome Campus, the Seabrook Bridge, lighting all over the city, and a lot more were done as we get ready for the Super Bowl. Some things were done, some things still need to happen. New Orleans is one of the best places in the world to host events, probably one of the best in the United States, period. That's why things happen. You know, Super Bowls have been here, no question. As we mentioned, New Orleans has had an unbelievable amount of Super Bowls with 11. College football national championships, whether before the BCS, before the college football playoff, Alabama won their big national championship in the Superdome. Final Fours, Sugar Bowls, and college football playoffs, Bayou Classics, and one of spots for NFL fans to come. When they're playing against the Saints, they make that trip from wherever they are. It's one of their favorite destinations to come to. New Orleans has hosted 2 WrestleManias, 2 big boxing events, of course, with the Muhammad Ali and then obviously Sugar Ray Leonard, the No Mas fight. Remember that in 1980? And also, what about the Rolling Stones in 1980? The biggest concert in the history of indoor concerts ever. It was in the Guinness Book of World Records at the time. It's since been broken, but it's been there for a long, long time. All of these iconic events have been in New Orleans because of one iconic building in the heart of the CBD, the Caesars Superdome. Now called the Caesars Superdome. For years it was called the Louisiana Superdome. Now the Caesars Superdome, hosting the Super Bowl for a record 8 times. No other stadium has hosted the Super Bowl more times than the Superdome. At 50 years this dome has been open. 50 years. It is still the largest steel-structured arena in the world. 7th largest in the league. 50th year this year, as we mentioned, which makes it the 5th oldest NFL stadium, soon to be the 3rd oldest NFL stadium once Chicago builds their new dome, which are still working on it, and Buffalo completes their new stadium, which is right next door to the old stadium. It's the 2nd dome stadium in the U.S. history, 2nd in the world, and can fit the Astrodome inside of the Superdome and still have room to play football. Now think about that. The Astrodome, called the 8th wonder of the world. You could put the Astrodome inside the Superdome and still have room to play football. Now the Astrodome is still up. They have not changed it. What they're hoping to do possibly is make it a kind of a hotel and all that stuff for like the rodeo and have a little, couple of events in it or whatever, but nothing major because NRG Stadium's right next door. When Dave Dixon did this dome, he wanted to make sure that the Superdome could be able to play baseball, could be able to host so many different events, not just one event. And what he did was absolutely unbelievable because the dome is so big, those ramps you and I walked down for years are gone. And it's so crazy the way that worked out, the way that he decided, you know what? We're going to build this dome, and it's going to be the unbelievable dome. And it was back then. And then other stadiums, since the dome has been built, think about it, the King Dome, the Pontiac Silver Dome, the Metro Dome. Those domes are gone. And the Georgia Dome, those domes are gone. And the Superdome is still standing 50 years later. 1975 it opened. Unbelievable. A recent deal had a drone that went through the Superdome. It was a great feature. You can see it on YouTube. We're going to show it right here, and I'm going to walk you through it. Here's a drone footage of the renovated Superdome. So this is Champion Square right here that we're going through. That's the Tom Benson statue with Gail Benson in the back and all of that. Now we're going to go into the Caesars Superdome. If I'm not mistaken, this is Gate A right here. We're going into Gate A, and look at the new concourse of the Superdome right there. Catches your attention immediately. As you continue to go through, there's the main concourse, and here goes the field. That's the football field, and we're going around the stadium. Look how great they did this drone footage. There's some of the club seats right there. The suites are above. Now let's go. That's more of the decks observatory decks is what they call it. And as we continue to go, that's one of the smaller escalators that you've seen. And now we're going in the locker room. This is where the Saints go in. Their newly renovated locker room. And trust me, I covered the Saints in the 90s. They didn't look anything like this. This is their locker room right here. Now, they have renovated the other locker rooms as well. I don't know if they're as good as this. We're going to find out this weekend. But that's the Saints locker room, full of party lights and what have you. And they've got another locker room on the other side. And here's they go as they get ready. That's the ready room and what have you, the cool room and all that. And this is the area, the wood area, that's got natural lighting. It's supposed to be coming through, but it's not. This is an LED light that makes it look like natural lighting. This is the Saints shop right here. And look how big the Saints shop is. I'm assuming there's going to be all the NFL merchandise in this shop this weekend. So it's a pretty big shop right there. And it's a very nice shop. All right, let's go now. This is the floor level suites that you see there. Now let's go to the upper suites. And you can see them. That's the club section right there. And then we go into the suites. And there are the suites right here. Look at the suites that we've got right here. They're pretty nice. Not the nicest in the National Football League. I've seen a few nicer ones, but the suites are nice. I've been in the suites several times. Part of the Louisiana Sports and Expedition Committee let me into those. But look at this. We go into these quarters right here. Look how wide the concourses are. Pretty wide. That's a small escalator there. And then we go here to the club levels. And this is where the lounge, the Saints Lounge, where everyone can go and sit down. And it's pretty nice. It's a big bar, plenty of cushioned seats, tables, what have you. This is different because, man, when I'd go get a Coors or whatever, I'd have to sit there for a long time and watch it. Look how long that bar is. And they're supposed to have a bartender every 5 feet. All right. Plus, they've got two 40-yard bars in this thing. That's pretty impressive. That is immensely impressive. All right, so here we go now. There's the Caesar logo and the big concourse. These are where all the ramps were, and this is the big escalator that will take you to your upper levels in a matter of seconds. In a matter of seconds. That's pretty impressive. And this is what it looks like to be on the upper deck. This is Jonathan's seat right there. Look at it. See it? So this is the upper section of the Superdome. And Jonathan, you think your seat might be bad. My seat's above yours in the press box, way above yours at the top. You can't go any higher than that. Oh. These are the new look at these bars and this nice club section right here, and the guest services go down. And like I said, this Superdome right now is absolutely gorgeous. Jonathan, your thoughts of the new Superdome?
Yeah, it's beautiful, Chris. Did a really great job. Of course, a lot of money was spent. Love all the TVs now in the concourse. Of course, the bar. All the concessions and the bathrooms are much more accessible. They kind of rearranged how fans enter into the building, making it easier for everybody to kind of get through security. Have to have a ticket now to get into Champion Square, which I like. Beef up security, make sure everybody's safe down there. So, yeah, it looks beautiful. Obviously, on the inside, they put a lot of work into it. That Legends Lounge that they have is awesome. The Caesar Sportsbook. Right there on campus. So, it's going to be great. They're going to sell a lot of merchandise. A lot of beers are going to be sold in that bar. So, don't have trouble selling alcohol no matter how expensive it gets in the Superdome. So, really looking forward to showcasing such an iconic building You look back to Katrina and all it's been through since 2005. Just great for the city to have the Super Bowl back after 9 years. And I'm looking forward to getting downtown. I'm taking the kids to the NFL experience at the Mark Morial Convention Center on Thursday. So I'll let you know all about that when we come back next week.
That's right. It's going to be a lot. I'm going to be there on Saturday. Lots of things, and also what I didn't like about what New Orleans did, what the Superdome did, was the food. We live in the best city in the world for food, and yet they had horrible food in the Dome, just normal food. Now they're getting a little bit better. They always had a big bowl of jambalaya, remember that? And now they're getting other things in there. They showed it to the press last night, and the press got big-time treated great last night with the food that's going to be available for the Super Bowl, including alligator sausage, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That was unbelievable. That's an unbelievable sausage dog. The alligator sausage dog is incredible, big time. Speaking of last night, lots of the media were there, and I don't know have you gone, Jonathan, have you ever gone with a member of the media?
I have not, no, sir.
When you go into the member of the media, you go through the doors, and the Saints park right by you. The Saints park to your right, and they've got it fenced off. It used to not be. When I covered the Saints back in the 90s, it was not fenced off. But right when you park where you go into the main door, and they check all of your bags and make sure you don't have any explosive devices or any weapons or what have you. But that's all right there. They had the media with tables last night, and they were serving them unbelievable food last night, and they were just going crazy. Here's some of the highlights of opening night of the NFL in the Superdome last night. The St. Aug Band, the Marching 100, playing as the Philadelphia Eagles make their way onto the stage last night. There's Jeff Lurie, who's the owner and the coach, Sirianni, which nobody thought would be a good coach. He's made the Super Bowl 2 out of his 4 years and the playoffs every 4 years, all 4 years that he's played. And so look at the Eagles taking it in. I think the crowd was almost as big as Vegas. It's hard to say because the stadium is a little smaller than the Superdome, and the Superdome's bigger. So I don't know how the crowd compared to last year. I saw the crowd from last year. I don't know attendance-wise what they said, what it was as far as attendance-wise go. But that's the this coverage from the NFL Network. And you can see the players piling in and somebody yelling, keep going, to let all the players on the stage. And the stage was lit up green, and when Kansas City came in, the stage was lit up red. But this is where an opportunity for the media to interview the players, and it's more of a circus than substance at all. They have the stupidest questions with these things and dumb things and what have you. But it's something that NFL fans, they get a little pack, and you get an earpiece, you get a little device, and you get to plug your headphones in there and listen to individual with your favorite player's press conference. And they didn't have this when the Saints went to the Super Bowl.
NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles.
And that guy's got a golden voice.
I don't call
Here's
it
Jalen
that. You
Hurts.
guys call it that.
Is it better to be a tush or pusher?
Again, you call it that. I call it the quarterback sneak. I keep it very standard.
You know Kendrick Lamar? He's playing in the halftime.
Yeah, he is.
And I'm a rapper too. I want to give it to my demo tape.
Okay.
Look.
That's the guy from the Jimmy Kimmel Show right there. Like I said, they have all kind of
And
goofballs.
there you go.
Show it to
I'll
me.
see if I find the time. All right.
The more that's important.
And that's Ocho Cinco giving a big kiss to Sirianni, the coach, and the kind of stuff like that happens throughout the deal. It's fun. Nickelodeon's there, they presenting awards and all that kind of good stuff. The highlights were great. I didn't get to go because of the fact they had a game last night. Jonathan, you were there at the game. Marty wasn't there. Marty, where were you last night? Yeah, you were hiding. But we were doing that last night. Kellen Moore was asked. I tried to get that video footage of that. Kellen Moore was asked about the Saints' job, and he said, I'm concentrating more on Philadelphia than the Saints. I'm not concentrated at all on the Saints. I'm concentrated on the Eagles and being offensive coordinator. And then the NFL network guy came up to him and with a big grin on his face said, how do you like this building? Do you like coming to this dome? And, of course, Kellen Moore smiled and said, I love this dome. Inside word is that Kellen Moore wants the Saints job, and it looks like he's going to get it. And going with that, I'll tell you this, Jonathan, you said it last week. I didn't. I was more optimistic because I thought we'd have more of the other ones taking it. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a moment about the Saints head coaching search. But I think that we're going to be in trouble for a while. But let's go back to the events of New Orleans. The NFL experience, as he mentioned, at the Mark Morial Convention Center right there next to the Hilton, right by the Hilton. It's going to be on Wednesday, starting Wednesday, going on to Saturday. It's $20 to get in. Kids 12 and under get in for free. But for adults, it's $20. But the Saturday before the game, like when I'm going, it'll be $40, double the charge. That'll be $40. The NFL shop there, Jonathan, is unbelievable. That's where you can buy NFL merchandise. You could buy like a hat and put any logo on it you want. You put the Saints logo on it. You can have the Saints hat. You can just buy the Saints hat. Put their Super Bowl 44 logo on it, and you can have it stitched on the side right there on the spot. It's personally monogrammed right there on the spot, which is pretty impressive. That's going to be going on. You'll be able to do that. How about this? A 2-day Louisiana Culture Festival in the French Market going on on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday. So where you go to the French Market, it's always a lot of fun. There's going to be a big culture festival going on. Pepsi Eat Fest. You got to get your tickets for that. That's at Waldenburg Park. You can sample food from New Orleans restaurant like Willie Mays, baby. You've never had fried chicken until you had Willie Mays fried chicken. Oh, Jonathan, you've had Willie Mays fried chicken?
Of course, Chris. I'm born and raised down there.
Oh, Willie Mays Scotch House. Oh, they're still open on St. Anne. They're going to be opening it soon. They got 2 locations now in New Orleans, but that one's in Treme, the original one.
Yep.
The best in the world. It's better than Gus's, I think, a little bit, but the red beans and rice.
Oh, I like it better than Gus's.
Yeah, and also the cornbread. Isn't that cornbread unbelievable?
Yep.
Oh, my God. You can't beat that big time. Also, there's going to be a boil competition at Walden Park on Saturday as well. How about that? And apparently it's free samples. When you hear free, Marty's ears perked up when I said free. Marty's ears perked up big time. So definitely going to want to do that on that. That is going to be on Saturday. The Super Bowl host parade will be on Saturday as well through the French Quarter. That's 10 a.m. until noon. Features Todd Graves, and he's bringing in all kinds of celebrities with him on the float. They'll be throwing NFL beads, and they'll be throwing footballs as well. Little bitty footballs. They'll be throwing that from the floats as well. How about this, Jonathan? I told you a little bit about this last night. How about this? It's the LSU Go Zone on Saturday. This is going on from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Saturday. Location's going to be at 1001 Gravier Street in New Orleans. Is that Gravier Street or Gravier Street? Is that Gravier Street?
I think it's Gravier.
Yeah, Gravier. It's the go big or go home deal for LSU. LSU will be taking over New Orleans. Limited edition New Orleans-inspired LSU merchandise, and you can make it your own. Customize any piece of LSU merch for free at the Custom Zone. Only merchandise purchased at the event, at the site. How about that? Athletes meet and greet, get autographs and take photos. Mike the Tiger will be there. Notable current and former LSU athletes will be there. Now, here's some of the lineups. 1 to 2 p.m., Tyrann Mathieu will be there, the Honey Badger. Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be there from 2 to 3. 4 to 5 will be Brian Thomas Jr. will be there. Free beignets and coffee from Iconic Beignet Box from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. while supplies last. And this, look, you know this is crazy. I just asked you if you've ever had Willie Mays. You know what I've never had at New Orleans ever?
What?
A Lucky Dog.
What?
I've heard it's the best dog in the world.
No, don't go that far. It's not the best. Unless
I'm,
it's like 3
I'm
in
a
the
hot
morning.
dog connoisseur, too.
Yeah, look, don't look at the water. Don't look at the water. Just get him to put the hot dog right in your hand, close your eyes. When you had a couple libations, it's much better. But I wouldn't say it's the best in the world. That dog down in New Orleans, the gourmet hot dogs, are very good. But Lucky Dogs,
I've never had that either. I passed by it, but never had it.
Yeah, those are real hot dogs.
So the Lucky Dogs will be there from 1 until 6 while supplies last. Free LSU Mardi Gras beads, too. And music and entertainment provided by NOLA native DJ Seawill, whoever the hell that is. Seawill will be there. So that's all going to be – that's pretty nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it's a parking lot. There'll be a big tent. I think that area, I looked it up on Google Earth, it's a parking lot.
Well, speaking of parking lots, Chris, I have had family members and friends all go down to New Orleans to try to see what's going on, the decorations, the events, and parking has been the biggest issue for locals. Of course, all the parking lots that you used to be able to park in has been roped off for media. So, look, New Orleans always a very small town. Speaking of the infrastructure and how to get in and get out, of course, it's the grid, and people are going up the wrong ways, one ways. But it's going to be tough to park if you're going down to New Orleans. Absolutely give your time a lot of travel head start. It's going to be a lot of traffic, and it's going to be hard to find a place to park. But definitely get down there, check it out. It's going to be a very safe environment. Of course, they beefed up security pretty much as you can for this kind of event. So looking forward to it, but definitely give yourself a lot of leeway in travel time with traffic and find somewhere to park.
Definitely. I mean, and try to park in a garage if you can. Now, this is the safest place in the world. New Orleans is going to be this weekend. Safest time you'll ever be in New Orleans. But try to park in a parking lot if you can. Excuse me. A parking garage. That's the safest place. You park out on the road, might want to leave your truck or car unlocked because it's getting that crazy. But regardless of the fact of the matter is, I'm going down on Saturday. We're going to leave early to get there. We're going to go. There's also grandstands for that parade as well. So that's going to be fun. I'm not going to stay as long to watch Bourbon Street on Saturday night, but I've been to Bourbon Street before, Super Bowl before, and I'm telling you, it looks like Mardi Gras. It's packed to the gills, walking down Bourbon Street, unbelievable. Philly and Kansas City fans will be there. Locals will be there. People who's not even I even heard there was some Buffalo Bill fans that were there dressed in their Buffalo attire, thought they were going to be in the Super Bowl. They got some of those there. Other fans will be there. So it's going to be interesting to see. It ought to be fun. Super Bowl 59, all the festivities going around in New Orleans. Now, what about the matchup? We'll take a look at that when we come back. Super Bowl 59 matchup. Kansas City and the Philadelphia Eagles. I said Phillies coming up right here. Eagles, I'm not a big Eagle fan. Am I pulling for them this week? And who I think's going to win? Jonathan and I will talk about that when we come back right here. This is Sports right here, Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouget today.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Super Bowl 59 matchup obviously is set. It was set last weekend with the NFC and AFC championship game. Kansas City versus the Philadelphia Eagles, part two, as Chris Berman would say on ESPN. They played in Arizona 2 years ago, Super Bowl 57. Kansas City won that game 38-35 with 27-yard field goal with just 8 seconds left. Mahomes had an injured ankle. Remember, also Jalen Hurts had an injured shoulder as well. But, Mahomes had 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter alone and had that big scramble to set up the game-winning field goal. Jalen Hurts threw for 304 yards but just fumbled late. That's something he usually doesn't do, but he did it. Kansas City, in postseason stats, Jonathan, I don't know how either one of these teams made it to the Super Bowl. Really, this is postseason. 14 teams make the playoffs, right? Kansas City was 9th in total offense at 290 yards per game. That was unbelievable. 9th in passing at 197.5 yards per game. 11th in rushing at 92.5 yards per ball game. They're 5th in scoring, averaging 27.5 points per ball game. This is, again, in playoffs only, playing recently. 9th in defense at 355 yards given up, 355. 8th versus the pass at 207 yards per game. 7th versus the rush, giving up 148 yards per game. They're 6th in points giving up with a 21.5 points per game. They had a ton of injuries this season, but they have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. When you have those two, anything goes. You don't have to have a great year like they did not have a great year this year, but anything goes. For Philadelphia, they're 6th in offense, averaging 366.3 yards per game, 14th in passing. Jalen Hurts just, again, I've never thought he's a superstar quarterback at all. I really never have. Remember, he got replaced by Tua, went to Oklahoma and got smashed against LSU. And he's not really made it big in the National Football League. He's, I think, an average quarterback, middle-of-the-pack quarterback, if that. The only thing that sets him apart is that he can run the football. So they're 2nd in the NFL in rushing and in the playoffs. Saquon Barkley and the rushing has just been unbelievable, 227.7 yards per ball game. They're 1st in points per game in the playoffs at 35 per game. 8th in defense at 351.3 yards per game. 10th against the pass. 5th against the rush. And 2nd in allowing points per game at 18.3. Jonathan, these stats here both showed you that Kansas City and Philadelphia did not dominate at all in the playoffs.
Right, and sometimes they found ways to win, Chris, and that's what good teams really do. They just figure it out, rely on defense, and both teams are playing pretty good defense right now. Starting with that front seven, both teams pretty dominant. They impose their will on offense. They shut down the run, make a team one-dimensional. And, look, Patrick Mahomes, it's just like a fill in the blank. It's who's the receiver going to be, Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy. They can rotate those guys in and out. It's just the scheme, the system, the belief, the mental edge. And Draymond Green kind of talked about this recently on a podcast and said, there's a reason that, in every era there's only a few guys that are winning all the rings. And dynasties absolutely, come and go. And it's because – some folks know what it takes. They have the mental edge. They just get it done in crunch time, in clutch time. And Patrick Mahomes, you can say, all you want about him, but that guy knows how to win football games, knows when to use his legs, knows when to take a shot. And then you mix in Travis Kelce, a guy who has all the experience in the playoffs you could ever want. And, I'm not going to say the referees are pulling for the Swifties, but that obviously helps when you're getting a lot of 50-50 calls. So Chiefs are going to be tough to beat in the Superdome. Going for the three-peat, first time it's ever been done in the NFL history. Yeah. But, of course, it's fly, birds, fly, E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. Pulling for Saquon. Hope he gets the MVP. In my opinion, he's been the most valuable player in the NFL this season. He's been dominant in the playoffs, and I hope he rushes for like 250 yards in the Super Bowl. Because, truly, that's the best way to compete against the Kansas City Chiefs. Keep them on the sidelines. Use that clock. Use that run game. Philly's going to have to rely on their great offensive line, and I just hope Saquon can stay healthy. Of course, Hurts is kind of banged up with his leg, but hopefully he can do enough in the RPO game, in the option read game, to keep the defense on their toes. And, 100% pulling for the Eagles. Picked the Eagles and the Dolphins before the season ever started. Of course, the Dolphins had a laughable year, but sticking with the Eagles, fly, Eagles, fly.
All right, so what do you think the final score is going to be? The Eagles. And now you're going for them, And you're picking them as well. Your heart and your mind both say the Eagles.
Heart and my mind both say the Eagles. Just too dynamic on the run game. And, of course, you mentioned it. Kansas City has looked beatable this whole regular season and throughout the playoffs. So not ready to give a final score. I'm thinking somewhere around, you're going to need like 38 points to win this game.
Wow.
Yeah, so Andy Reid, take the over if you want to be safe. So Andy Reid's going to have to dial up some good play calls. And Nick Sirianni is going to prove that he can get that monkey off his back and actually beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no question. I think the opposite way, and the only reason I'm saying this because Kansas City, Mahomes, Reed, and Kelsey just find ways to win. Mahomes, like you said, just unbelievable. The guy can throw the ball away at the last second. Kind of reminds you of a Doug Williams. I mean, just would flip the wrist before that was in the grasp ruling. And I just think Mahomes is just incredible, and he finds a way to win in the fourth quarter. That's what kills me is in the fourth quarter. As far as Kelsey goes, Kelsey is a nightmare matchup. Again, we showed you last week in the AFC Championship game when you put Hamlin on him, Denny Hamlin on him, what happens? He can't handle him. He has to hold him. You put a linebacker on him, he's not fast enough to keep up with Kelsey. And that is a struggle right there in itself. So he becomes a matchup nightmare for anybody who's playing him, and especially in crunch time where he gets those big first downs to set up the game-winning field goal. Also Mahomes with his feet. As we mentioned, that 27-yard run in that Super Bowl against Philadelphia with a hurt ankle. Had that big 27-yard run to set up the game-winning field goal. Andy Reid. Andy Reid, everybody calls Andy Reid all the time. Sean Payton used to brag about calling Andy Reid because Andy Reid was undefeated for the longest time after a bye because Andy Reid is that kind of a coach. Now, we talk about Saquon Barkley, you know, and the New York Giants passing on him and letting him go because he wanted too big of a contract. What about Philadelphia letting Andy Reid go? How crazy is that? Now this guy has a chance to do something that nobody else has ever done, as Jonathan mentioned. Nobody has ever won 3 in a row. Joe Montana, New England. Now, I didn't think with the free agency that it would be dynasties like this, but since then, New England has been a dynasty. Dallas has been a little dynasty before free agency. But what about now with the salary cap? How in the hell is Kansas City doing this? I think their run is about to come to an end, but still, how are they doing this? Unbelievable. So with the Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed, I can't pick against Kansas City. I'm thinking Kansas City wins at 28-17. I hate to say this, but I'm actually pulling for the Eagles. I want the Eagles to win in a way because, you know, I was telling somebody the other day that when Jordan was playing, I didn't appreciate Jordan when he was playing. I wanted Mailman Malone to win a NBA championship. I was pulling for Utah the whole way. Stockton and the Mailman. Then after Jordan retired, I'm like, man, I miss him. It's not, the NBA wasn't the same. And same thing, Tiger Woods. I was a big Phil Mickelson fan. So when I'm watching Tiger Woods at 17 over or 12 over, and they're showing every one of his shots, I'm like, get out of here. Nobody else is seeing these shots. I mean, nobody else. You're not showing anybody else. If Phil Mickelson's 4 under and he's 8 off the pace, you're not going to show one of his shots. But yet you're going to show Tiger Woods with every shot in 12 over. There's no way he's not even going to make the cut. But you're showing a shot. So the media kept blitzing and shoving it down our throats. And so now Tiger's not retired, but he's not the same. And it's like, I don't even watch golf anymore. With Mickelson's not there, obviously, but with Tiger not playing, I'm not going to watch golf. I don't watch golf anymore. None of the golfers impress me anymore. I watch 1-2 tournaments, maybe 3 or 4. And I'll say this, and the reason why, you'll know. I watch the 4 majors, try to watch the 4 majors, and I also watch New Orleans, the tournament in New Orleans at TPC of Louisiana. I watch those. Other than that, I don't watch any golf anymore like I used to. Every Sunday, I used to watch the golf. I don't watch it anymore. And part of me won't be disappointed if Kansas City wins and goes for history with their three-peat, but part of me won't be sad if Philadelphia wins. Either one, to me, is fine. But at the same time, a lot of people are. So I'm wondering how the tickets are down a little bit from last year. They're down a little bit because of Kansas City and people are getting tired of it. How would that affect the ratings? will this be a big ratings winner or will it not be? That's going to be the big question in this game after it's all said and done. So Jonathan got Philadelphia. I got Kansas City winning 28-17. All right, when we come back, we're going to be talking Saints head coach search, also Southern basketball and LSU basketball. When we come back, talking sports with me, Chris Powers, right after this timeout on Pelican Sports TV.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouget today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers. Of course, Jonathan's here. Marty is in the house. Saints head coaching search coming down to the final few. Mike Kafka from the New York Giants wants the job. He's the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. Anthony Weaver, Miami defensive coordinator, wants the job. Darren Rizzi wants the job, but he's not going to get the job. He looks like he's going to Denver. He's going to be the special teams coordinator at the Denver Broncos. Go figure. I mean, I wonder if Sean Payton lived in a lift house. I'm sure he lived in a concrete slab house. But if you live in a lift house, lift the damn thing up and bring it to Denver. He's bringing everything else. Cheese and Pete's. Mike McCarthy pulled out since we've last talked. Kellen Moore, Philly offensive coordinator, wants the job. And word is around the NFL, he is the guy that's going to accept the job. He wants it big time. And Cliff Kingsbury pulled out of the job. He's the Washington offensive coordinator. Jonathan, I don't know about you, but when I hear Kellen Moore, I look at him. He looks like a young kid that his mama don't know he's playing coach yet. I don't think that an NFL player will fear him. I just don't. I think the Saints are in trouble for a long time. And, I mean, we've missed the playoffs 4 years in a row. I got a feeling we're going to miss the playoffs for maybe 4 more years, if not more. We're in trouble. This year, we're going to lead the NFL in dead money again at around anywhere from 60 to 70 million. I'm seeing 2 different deals, 2 different, in fact, 3 or 4 different figures. Next year, over $250 million in dead money for the Saints. $250 million. I don't know, man. I think this is just heading for bad stuff. I think the Saints are going to be down for a long time.
Yeah, and Chris, there's lots of evidence that would support that theory. You talk about the salary cap, the age of the roster, the quarterback situation. There's a lot of problems with the Saints right now, and I think a lot of the potential candidates have kind of highlighted why they would, rather stay where they are with other organizations, even if they are an OC or a DC. Mickey Loomis said, this is a very desirable job because it's one of 32 jobs, and I think that he's been kind of eating crow a little bit. Kellen Moore would be the youngest coach in the NFL at 36, and that could mean a couple different things. The youth isn't always a guarantee of innovation. You mentioned the look. Never had a strong chin, even when he was a player in college. And guys in the NFL, coaches in the NFL, I don't know. You can say it's total hogwash, but there is a certain look about successful coaches. And you're right. Kellen Moore doesn't really fit that mold right now, but he's also a young man who was thrusted right into coaching, did a very good job in Dallas as the play caller and the OC, then went to Philly, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So showed what he can do as a play caller. But here's the question. Will a young guy be able to come in, be completely organized, know how to hire staff, which staff to keep, know how to flip a roster from being dead and with dead money and old to a new under-the-cap roster? It's a lot of questions, and he's an unproven guy. Never had a chance to be the head coach yet in the NFL. But look, at this point in the search, you could say the Saints are either being methodical or they just keep getting turned down. Kellen Moore, young enough not to know how many issues there really will be with this Saints gig. So, yeah, get him in, get the guy in the building, let him create his staff, who he wants to bring in to help him coach, and then start letting him put his hands on this roster. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of different stuff about, Mickey Loomis and Derek Carr and why potentially guys have turned down this job. And there's about a million reasons why there would be another more attractive offer than the New Orleans Saints head coaching job. But if you're a Saints fan, you have to give them support. You have to be patient and understand that this roster is in a bad spot right now, not only with the dead cap, but it is very much an aging roster. It's like the third oldest roster in the NFL. So, yeah, it's going to be a rebuilding process. Fortunately, in a couple of years, the Saints will be way under the salary cap, able to do some things in free agency, possibly get the quarterback in the draft. Not this year, in my opinion, maybe next season. So, there are ways to keep the fan base engaged and involved. And, of course, Who Dat Nation is one of a kind. They love their Saints passionately, fanatically. So just be patient. Got to give support to whoever's going to come in. At least it's going to be different, Chris. Dennis Allen wasn't working 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, no playoffs. So at least you can have hope as a Saints fan now.
Yeah, I hate that. I really do hate that. And I'm just, like I said, I've always been a Saints fan, and more now that you watch this thing, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Unbelievable. All right, let's turn our attention to basketball. Southern basketball starts at 9-0 for the first time since the SWAC started the 18-game schedule. They won on Monday night with a big-time win over Jackson State in overtime. It was an unbelievable game. Defense is suffocating, top 10 in bench scoring and steals per game in the nation. And second half of the season is now beginning to be underway, coming up this week. Will be on Saturday. So you'll see the second half of the season. I think this team is the best in the SWAC. However, they dominated the beginning of the SWAC, but now you're starting to see them barely winning games. And last night they were winning, and again, a big three-point shot ties the game up in regulation, sends them into overtime, and the only way we don't go to double overtime is Jackson State center made a stupid foul call. Held him like the game, like they were down.
Yep.
And it was a dumb call, and he ended himself. Not only that, it was his fifth foul.
Yep.
He fouled out of the ball game, but I don't know what he wrapped him up in. The game was stopped so many times and so much ticky-tacky fouls.
Yep.
I had a bad play-by-play call last night. Now, I admit when I'm good or when I'm bad, and I had a bad game last night. Kept trying to figure out. We had so many times looking at the instant replay.
Yep.
It's crazy last night.
Yep. Yeah, Chris, and there were so many different times that it stopped the game to address blood that was on the uniforms, and there was, I can't even count how many replays towards that game. You mentioned it. Silly foul by Jackson State. Didn't realize Mo Williams, the former NBA All-Star, was the head coach for J-State, but they were in the building. It was a great crowd out there. Had the Greek week going on. You mentioned the end of the game. And I love Coach KJ, but I thought that he could have done a little bit of better job managing the end of the game strategy right there. Southern had a 1-point lead with like 26 seconds left on the clock. They went right down the court, threw an alley-oop. Of course, the crowd went absolutely nuts. Everybody was hype. But then, of course, J-State had time to right down the court, shoot the three, tie it up, go into overtime because of a block shot. And even at the end of overtime, It did work out because of the foul call, but when Southern rebounded the ball on the defense side of the court, 5.6 seconds left was on the clock, I think. Coach KJ could have called a timeout right there, get the ball in an inbound play. He let him play, and fortunately for all of us to get out of the mini dome last night at a decent hour, J-State does commit the penalty, but Ambry absolutely on fire last night from beyond the three-point line, and they needed it for sure. Went cold a little bit in that right in the beginning of that second half. And they did have some J-State fans, Chris, sitting right behind me while I'm trying to direct the stream, and it was obnoxious. Thank the good Lord that Southern was able to pull that one out. A very intense game. Did get chippy at the end with all those fouls. I think the referees did a pretty good job of making sure they got every call correct to the best of their ability, using the technology available with the instant replay. Marty and the camera crew did a great job providing those replays. So, yeah, happy for Coach KJ to get that win, but what a stressful way to do it.
You know, you can't blame the center. You know why you can't blame the center for that stupid foul call that he did?
Huh.
His last name is Manziel, like Johnny Manziel.
You're right. Yeah, spelled different, but it was the same. You're right.
Oh, man. All right, different story on the other side of town. On the south side of town, LSU basketball is just not looking good at all. Second to last with a 1-7 mark in SEC play. They're averaging 78 points per ball game, 38 rebounds a game, 46% they're shooting from the field, 76% from the free throw line, 31% from downtown. Cam Carter is ninth in the SEC in scoring, averaging 17.3 per contest. He leads LSU in scoring. And how about Damian Collins is second in block shots at 1.8 per ball game. They got a tough schedule going on. They got to go to Georgia. I don't care if LSU's even good. They always struggle at Georgia. Maybe it's that arena. I don't know what it is. Then they host 25th ranked Ole Miss. And then, Jonathan, they got to go to Arkansas. And you know, since LSU's only win came against Arkansas, you know Arkansas is going to be ready for them big time when they go there to Walmart World.
Well, I'll tell you what, Arkansas is feeling himself a little bit by going to Kentucky. Of course,
I know.
Coach Cal.
But did you like that? I love that Kentucky
absolutely.
fans were booing the hell out of him, and I understand that.
Yep.
But, man, boy, did Calipari get the final word?
Yep. Yeah, now I thought it was really classy of Coach Cal getting caught in the interview. I don't know if this was on purpose, but getting caught in his post-game interview, like correcting his student-athletes for not talking back to the fans, just getting to the locker room, enjoy the win. Got to be happy for Coach Cal. It has been a struggle in the SEC, but going back, they talk so much junk about Coach Cal and how he messed up the program and he put us back years, blah, 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 blah. And to bring Arkansas into the Rupp Arena where he had so much success as the coach of the Wildcats and able to win that game. And it got very chippy. Understandably, there's no love lost between these two programs.
No.
The guys that did like Coach Cal out in Kentucky are mad that he left. And the guys that were ready for Coach Cal to leave, obviously, were happy to see him go. But happy for the happy for the Razorbacks. And yet, they're going to be playing with more confidence now, obviously, for that big win.
Yeah, no question. LSU then goes to Oklahoma. They host South Carolina and number 6 Florida. Now, they're not – I don't want to say – well, and I say that because they looked horrible in Saturday night. They got beat big time. But they played number 1 Auburn pretty decent here at the PMAC. Now they got to play number 6 UF coming up soon in the PMAC. That ought to be a pretty big rowdy crowd. But, I mean, how much longer do you go? I think maybe another year. Next year you look at the coaching staff and say, okay – now we got to make a change at coaching staff. Scott Woodward's going to have to do something. The question is LSU losing big-time money on basketball? If they are making even money, but again, who are you going to go out and get?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd said a long time, I thought you should went after Rick Pitino. He ain't coming now. I don't know if he would have came, maybe make him the highest-paid basketball coach in the nation. Maybe he would have came. But I know he's not coming now. He's where he wants to be. Yeah. But I don't know, man. I just don't know of any other coach that you can get that can convince him to come to LSU, turn this program around, and be unbelievable. I don't know. I don't know what you do at LSU. I really don't. It's just a dumpster. I don't want to say it's a dumpster fire, kind of like the Pelicans, but they're playing hard. There's no question.
Yep.
But McMahon, I just don't know. I mean, what do you? If you're Scott Woodward, what do you do? Do you make a change at the end of this year, or do you give another year?
So if I'm Scott Woodward, and you never really like to fire a coach in the middle of the season, so I let him finish out this season. Depends on how much momentum they build up. Of course, just shooting the ball so poorly, Chris. In the SEC, it's really tough, possession after possession, to get the ball inside, pass it back out, work to get a layup. You're going to have to shoot the ball above 30% in some ball games beyond the arc, and LSU just has not been able to do that. You mentioned Cam Carter. I think he is a true scorer, a very good player for LSU, and unfortunately there just isn't enough of that for Coach McMahon. Look, do I think that Coach McMahon is a good coach? Absolutely. Do I think his players enjoy playing for him, play hard for him? Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's just been so difficult for him to get the Jimmies and Joes in the building, sign the 5-star recruit. It doesn't help that the former coach in Will Wade goes to McNeese and has almost instant success, especially in that league. Fired up. You see him on ESPN celebrating with his team after big wins. And LSU, the fans especially, they believe that Will Wade was their guy. Of course, it didn't work out. There was a bunch of allegations and a very, very messy investigation that went all the way up to like the U.S. Congress and the Senate. So it just hasn't felt right for LSU basketball since then. But you mentioned it. Are they really losing that much money in LSU basketball? I mean, baseball's won a championship. Women's basketball's won a championship. The football team is hoping to get back to the playoffs, but they won in 2019. So, look, Scott Woodward, I have full trust in.
Yeah,
I believe he's going to get the best man for the job, and if he has faith in Coach McMahon, I think you let it play out. It's going to be his 4th year next season, so he would have no excuses for not getting his recruits into the building and developing those guys into what he thought LSU basketball should be. So I give him one more year, Chris, and if it starts out again like it did this year, next season, I think you have to pull the plug mid-season and then just try to rebuild.
Yeah, going to be interested to see what happens with that. Lady Tigers, 8-1 in the SEC. They're still ranked number 6. They play Missouri Thursday night. They play Tennessee on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, 3 p.m. start time. That is on Sunday. And then they have a whole week off. And, Jonathan, I said they could be the 3rd best team. They're either 2nd or 3rd. I think it's a three-race horse right now. I think it's South Carolina. I think it's LSU or Texas, somewhere in that. And they're going to play at UT next Sunday, February 16th. Well, it'll be a very interesting game on that one. When we come back, we'll wrap things up here as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers, Jonathan, and Marty is in the house. This is Pelican Sports TV.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Talking sports with Chris Powers, seen 5 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Friday, and Saturdays. seen in almost 2 million households around New Orleans. 89% of the metro New Orleans still has Cox Cable. And, of course, Baton Rouge, about 350,000. And in Lafayette, about 140,000 people. You can download the app, or you can also watch it on YouTube. Jonathan and the crew downloads it pretty quickly. All right, so everybody went nuts, Jonathan. I don't know about you. The Luka AD trade. I didn't go crazy over it big time because I'm not an NBA fan as much as I used to be. Luka, obviously 5 years younger than AD, and I knew when we got rid of AD, so AD gets traded again for the second time in his career, and I knew that when we lost AD, I mean, this wasn't like when we lost Chris Paul, I was more upset.
Yep.
But with AD, always injured. The guy can play, there's no question, but he's always injured. Is basically a paper player, big time. What was your thoughts? Were you shocked on this trade?
Oh, yeah, I was super surprised, Chris. And I'm not a huge NBA guy either, but I know the Dallas Mavericks fans all wore Luka jerseys. I mean, if you're an owner of the Mavericks, like, what are you doing? And, yeah, everybody comes out and they're like, what are they, idiots over there? And then they start, like, bashing Luka through these back channel, reporters saying, oh, we had to give him, 10 days off back in last September to get, his weight down. Or there's been a lot of Luka bashing going on, which is really crazy to think that, and the NBA, every trade is talked about for weeks before it goes down. This really took a lot of people by surprise. In the middle of the night, oh, by the way, AD got traded for Luka, and everybody's like, what just happened? This has to be false. This has to be a prank. But if you ask me, the most laughable part of this whole story was when the agent said that LeBron James knew nothing about this trade before it went down. Give me a break, brother. LeBron James, he has a cot in the GM's office. So, I don't believe that for 1 minute.
And also what makes it laughable, too, no one's talking about AD at all.
Right.
No one is. Everybody's talking about Luka. Oh, Dallas traded Luka. Nobody was shocked that the Lakers traded AD. Nobody.
Right.
And that was the big thing for AD. He's getting embarrassed with this.
Well, they call them street clothes for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like I said, the NBA's got a lot of work to do. Ratings are down. Their star players are not playing on a consistent basis. They got a lot of work to do. Speaking of trading, how about this? The Rams are shopping Cooper Kupp. Are you crazy? I mean, that guy gets open every single time. Now, he's been injured the last 2 years. Yeah. But that guy just finds a way to get open, whether it's a curl route or whether it is a fly route. This guy gets open, and you're going to trade him? Wow, even if you don't trade him, because now he says he don't want to leave. But even if you don't trade him, now he's got in the back of his mind like, wait a minute, you guys don't appreciate me? But he's not that kind of a player, so we'll see what happens. LSU and Southern start softball this weekend. I'm going to the LSU game on Friday. I'll be sitting right behind the dugout of LSU softball. They're playing their tournament this week. LSU baseball starts the next week, and Southern baseball starts next week as well on February 14th. So next week, baseball starts. How crazy is that? LSU opens up for a tournament at home. Southern is going to Houston to play at the old Minute Maid Park. It's not Minute Maid anymore. And then LSU and Southern will play each other on Tuesday, February 18th. Plan on possibly going to that game as well. Well, Super Bowl 59, how will it turn out? We'll check into that next week. We'll talk about that, talk about the city of New Orleans. I'm sure they did a great job again. They're just unbelievable. I'm proud of New Orleans, proud of the Superdome. We'll talk about that next week. Talking sports with me, Chris Powers. Until then, have a great week and happy Super Bowl week. Bye for now.
Rocks and fires. Tommy White with it. Johnson heads to the block.